$500 went missing from our home, and they were convinced I was the thief. My father broke my left hand with a stick and threw me out of the house. My mother caused a scene at school, accusing the teachers of turning me into a thief. I became an outcast, shunned by everyone. It wasn't until New Year's Eve that my sister tearfully confessed, "It was me who took the money. I wanted to surprise you both with gifts." My mother embraced her with sympathy. "It's our fault for not giving you enough pocket money." Even my typically indifferent father wiped away her tears. "Sarah has grown up, showing such filial piety." Then they finally remembered me. "What about that ungrateful child? Not even a New Year's greeting. Might as well be dead. We raised her for nothing. Might as well have raised a dog. Call her, see if she realizes her mistake yet." They didn't know, I was already dead. Dead on a New Year's Eve meant for family reunion. Although Sarah and I were twins, our parents never hid their favoritism towards her. Like at this moment, Sarah tearfully and reluctantly admitted it was she who stole the money. My mother raised her hand. I opened my eyes wide in anticipation, waiting for my mother's slap to land on Sarah's face. But the next second, Sarah was cradled gently in my mother's arms, her back soothed. "Don't cry, Sarah. You've turned into a little tear-stained kitten. Mommy knows you did it to buy us gifts." I'm too happy to be angry. Even my typically reserved and cold father stepped forward to wipe away Sarah's tears, gently reassuring her. "Sarah has grown up, understanding how to honor her parents. This tie, Dad will wear it every day." My heart felt as if it was being submerged in molten iron, searing with pain. When the family discovered the missing $500, I was still dreaming, suddenly grasped by the collar. Gasping for air, I opened my eyes in confusion, only to see my father's furious face. Before I could understand what happened, I was yanked harshly, crashing to the ground, pain shooting through me, and my parents were indifferent, as if looking at a piece of trash. "Got bold enough to steal money now that you've grown wings." The cash my parents had withdrawn from the bank was short by 5 notes. They insisted I was the thief. I helplessly shook my head, repeating, "It wasn't me. I didn't steal." My father's expression darkened further. "You disappoint us by not admitting your mistake, not doing well in school, planning a career as a thief. We might as well stop funding your education and send you straight to jail to be reformed." Their words drove me to tears. "Why don't you believe it wasn't me?" Tears dropping into hot oil. My mother exploded, grabbing a thick bamboo stick. My father took it without hesitation and struck my left hand, asking one last time, "Do you admit it?" Sarah, awakened by the noise, watched from behind the door, her eyes red, cautiously advising, "Sister, just apologize to Mom and Dad. Stop being stubborn." Looking back now, I really should have admitted to a mistake that wasn't mine, because what followed was too terrible. The price I paid was too high, but one cannot foresee the future, so I just stiffened my neck, gritting my teeth. It wasn't me. The bamboo stick fell repeatedly on my left hand. The pain was excruciating. At 2 in the morning, 5 degrees below zero. Dressed only in my pajamas, I was driven out of the house, shivering in the corridor, crying over and over again, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me." And now, in the warmth of a cozy guest house, the TV broadcasts Kathy, the evening host, laughing during making dumplings together. My parents coo over Sarah with gentle voices, their faces full of pity. "Recognizing and correcting your mistakes is what makes a good child. It's our fault," my parents said. "We haven't given you enough pocket money. From now on, just tell us directly if there's something you want to buy." I don't understand. What exactly are they pitying? A beautiful wool shawl, a tie with interwoven shades of black and blue. These were the gifts I bought for my parents for Chinese New Year, after saving for an entire year. In the end, they were passed off as gifts from Sarah. Anger pierced through my brain. I grabbed the shawl and tie, wanting to tear them to shreds, but my hands moved through them without resistance. Only emptiness remained. Now I remember, I am already dead. I often used to ask myself, do my parents really love me? The moment I asked that question, the answer was clear. On stormy days, other kids had their parents pick them up. I was the only one who had to run home alone, drenched. Through the crowd of parents, I would quietly console myself. Don't cry, Mom and Dad must be too busy to pick me up. I'm grown up now. Independent, I can get home by myself." But when I got home, I would see the rest of my family cozy and laughing on the sofa, Sarah holding a cup of warming tea made by Mom, and enjoying the osmanthus cake Dad bought especially for her. Standing at the door, soaked through, I realized, it wasn't that my parents were busy, they just didn't have the time to pick me up. Seeing me drenched, my mom frowned. How many times have I told you to remember to bring an umbrella? Can't even remember such a simple thing. No wonder you do poorly in school. Now you'll probably get a fever, and cause us more trouble. I finally accepted it. My mom doesn't love me as much. I've accepted it. I just need to remind myself many times a day, Mom doesn't love me, don't be sad. It's normal. Like this Chinese New Year, the three of them flew to H City to celebrate joyously, leaving me alone at home, even though my parents promised me that if I got into the top 10 of my class, I could join them in H City. The day the results came out, I mustered my courage. Imagining Sarah's usual coquettish demeanor, ready to proudly tell my parents I had met their requirements, but before I could speak, I was harshly interrupted. Can't you see we're busy? Have some sense and get out of the way. My mom barely glanced at my report card before throwing it in the trash. Given your history of stealing, you probably cheated for these grades too. You're not coming to H City with us this time. Those were grades I earned by sleeping at 2 a.m. and waking up at 6 a.m. The excitement and achievement I felt when I received them were shattered by a careless, "You cheated." I used to wonder, Sarah and I are twins, why do my parents prefer her? Is it because of my poor grades? But after I met their expectations, I realized, my parents don't love me, simply because they don't. No matter what I become, they will never love me. Soon, Sarah will be 18, but in front of Mom, she'll always be a child. Just like now, she can boldly ask Mom to tell her a story and coax her to sleep. My mom didn't refuse Sarah's whims. If it were me, my mom would only say, "You're grown up now, can't you act like it? Are you a 3-year-old? Can't you even handle this small task? Can you keep it down? Can't you see I'm busy?" After Sarah closed her eyes, my mom placed a thick red envelope under her pillow. The red envelope, embossed with gold, had Sarah's name and zodiac sign printed on the sturdy red paper. My mom looked at Sarah tenderly, silently mouthing, "Sweetheart, Happy Chinese New Year." Then she turned off the light and tiptoed out of the bedroom. My dad stood outside the bedroom, his expression filled with concern, and asked my mom, "Should we pamper our daughter more? Are we giving too little for New Year's money or pocket money, or are we too harsh on Sarah usually?" I've been worried about that too, so I doubled the New Year's money this year, and, my mom frowned, lowering her voice as if afraid to wake Sarah. "What about Stacy? Not even a New Year's greeting, as if she's dead." My heart twisted in pain. Why does the heart still ache after someone dies? Mom and Dad, you finally remember me. We raised her for nothing, might as well have raised a dog. Even a dog knows to bark a few times. My dad closed his eyes, sighing deeply as if he had reached the peak of disappointment. "Call her, see if she realizes her mistake yet." Of course, no one answered the phone. It's 11 o'clock at night. It has been 5 hours since I died. My mom stared in disbelief, angrily jabbing at the phone screen. She's grown wings now, daring not to answer the phone. First back talking, now not answering calls. What's next? Running away from home. She's getting more crooked by the day, all because of that desk mate she follows. No one considered that a minor alone at home, unreachable by phone, might be in trouble, or perhaps, they hoped something had happened to me. I often wonder, if you don't love me, why did you bring me into this world? Why give me hope, only to push me into despair? Send a WeChat message and see. My mom paused, falling silent. I bitterly smiled. Sarah has the latest iPhone model, while I only had a second-hand phone. I didn't even have WeChat, wasn't in the family group, the same class parent group. My dad's contact saved as Sarah's dad, my mom's as Sarah's mom. I was forever an outsider, not part of the family of 3. Forget it, let's buy her a new phone. It'll distract her from her studies. With her grades, it doesn't matter anymore, as long as we have Sarah, as you wished. Now there's only Sarah left. In the following days, my parents and Sarah roamed the streets and alleys of H City. They visited the amusement park I wanted to go to. They saw the ocean I longed to see. They took a happy family photo. H City is beautiful, even more beautiful than I had imagined. Yes, how could it not be beautiful? It was the travel destination I had looked forward to all year, but it was ruined by a careless remark from my parents. They dismissed my achievements. They dismissed me as a person. Watching my parents' expressions, Sarah cautiously spoke up, "Dad, Mom, don't get mad about sister not answering the phone. The fact that I didn't return the call was bothering my parents, but they still tried their best to hide their irritation, patiently entertaining Sarah. Maybe sister is just having too much fun and forgot to call back. Sarah's voice suddenly lowered, hesitant to continue. Or maybe, sister is still angry. My mom's voice suddenly rose, piercingly loud, angry. What right does she have to be angry? We provided her with food and drink. What does she have to be angry about? Even if she didn't steal the money, talking back is still wrong. After my report card was thrown in the trash, I broke down. I picked it up and tore it to shreds, along with all my hopes and expectations for the year, shredded to pieces. Bits of white paper fluttered down. I grabbed my hair and screamed in despair. Am I still not obedient enough? You asked me to rank in the top 10, and I did. Why can't I go to H City? Why can Sarah go? Why this favoritism when we are all your children? Is this how parents are supposed to act? My mother looked at me, hysterical, a flicker of indifference passing through her furious eyes. She knew full well that her words were hurtful, yet she did not hesitate to say, deliberately pausing with each word, not only have you learned to steal, but now you argue and talk back to your parents. Since you're so obedient, if I told you to die, why don't you just die? Her words became a grim prophecy. Mother, as you wished, I really died. Are you happy now? My father spoke with a stern face. Even if Stacy didn't steal the money, talking back is wrong. Maybe she stole before, and we just didn't catch her. Where else would the watch come from? At that time, my mother was adamant that I had stolen, because I had a new watch on my wrist. Mother, I explained it to you, but you didn't want to listen, didn't want to hear. The watch was a birthday gift from Hebe. A birthday you deliberately ignored. The sun was warm and shining down. Everyone around was wearing short sleeves and enjoying themselves, but I still felt so cold, cold to the core of my soul. My heart felt like it was melted by molten iron and then plunged into ice. I felt so desperate. Would someone please find my body soon? I don't want to lie in a pile of snow. It's too cold. During those days out, my parents never called again. They were sulking, in the past, whenever I made my parents angry. Right or wrong, I was always the first to apologize. This time was no different. They were waiting for me to admit my fault. I was wrong. I shouldn't have talked back to my parents. I should have obediently listened. It doesn't matter whether I copied or not. What matters is that I must unconditionally obey my parents' arrangements. I won't dare again. Please forgive me, Mom and Dad. Whatever you ask of me. As long as you forgive me, I'll do it. But until I returned home. Their phones received no calls back. The moment before I opened the door, my parents' anger was already uncontrollable. Stacy, get out here. Usually, when they came home, I would have a cup of water at just the right temperature ready for them. I'd arrange their slippers, take their bags, and hang their coats. Now, the warm light of the living room was still on, except I was no longer there. After calling Stacy several times, my mother belatedly realized I wasn't home. The lights are on and nobody's home, wasting electricity. The table is dusty, and she didn't even wipe it. We told her, when you're home alone, study hard, don't run around outside, and report to us if you go out. Being her parents must be a debt owed from a past life. My heart ached. I thought, when they got home and found me missing, they would surely worry. After all, I was alone at home and unreachable by phone. They returned home to find no one there. In such circumstances, they remained indifferent. Sarah bit her lip, hesitating. Did sister run off to Aunt Haley's house again? My mom paused while packing the suitcase and scoffed. She's always at someone else's house. I wondered if she's really our child at all. You'd think Mrs. How was her real mother the way she carries on? Sarah took my mom's hand and tilted her head. Mom, don't be upset. I'll talk to her when I go to school tomorrow. It really is too much, with both parents working hard, and she still sides with outsiders, making us the laughing stock. Maybe she wishes Aunt Haley was her mom. As soon as these words fell, my mom's face changed drastically. Seeing this, Sarah gently probed, Mom, should I go over to Aunt Haley's and bring her back? No need. My mom said sharply and turned to walk into the kitchen. Let her go wherever she wants, even if she dies. It's no concern of ours. My mom always spoke in anger. She didn't realize, angry words, when spoken too much, can become reality. Hebe was my former desk mate. Aunt Haley is her mom. I envied her. Whenever bullies harassed her at school, Uncle Howard would personally go to the school and give them a thrashing, then even pay for their medical expenses. Aunt Haley would accompany her to concerts and discuss her favorite video game protagonists with her. Her parents wrote a book, meticulously documenting every detail of her growing up. When I visited Hebe's home, the book, thick as a brick, shocked me. Such a thing. I couldn't even imagine, using a brain accustomed to limited love to fathom a life completely filled with love. After being kicked out that night, I knocked on doors to no avail. I thought, Aunt Haley, being such a kind person, would surely take me in. I walked barefoot on the cold, hard road. Each step felt like stepping on sharp shards of ice, painfully piercing to the core. At 3 a.m., I knocked on Hebe's door. My face was frozen stiff, my throat was dry and tight, producing only a few broken breaths. My left hand was swollen and discolored, a mix of purple and blue, dark red scabs stuck to the wounds. I thought, I'll only knock 3 times. If no one opens the door, I'll just leave it be. The dull knocks echoed in the silent hallway. The door opened. Uncle Howard, rubbing his eyes, peered out and upon seeing me, widened his eyes in disbelief. "Stacy, what happened to you?" In the middle of the night, I caused a commotion at Hebe's house. Uncle Howard rushed us to the hospital. Aunt Haley wrapped me tightly in a blanket. Hebe sat close beside me, holding my uninjured right hand, continuously rubbing it, trying to warm me up. I wanted to apologize and express my gratitude. I opened my mouth several times, but no words came out, only tears kept falling. Aunt Haley gently embraced me, patting my back like soothing a baby. "Auntie knows, you've been through a lot, you can say anything you want, it's also fine if you don't want to talk, we respect your choice. Hebe and I are always here, whenever you're ready to talk, just tell us." Later, I often visited Hebe's house. After finding out, my mom was furious. She thought, as usual, I ran off to Aunt Haley's house. But she didn't know that Hebe and I had cut ties. The senior high school students started the new term. I drifted into school with Sarah. After everyone arrived, we cleaned the classroom a bit. My seat was near the trash can. Classmates always threw their trash on my desk. Milk cartons, pen refills, fruit peels, snack packets, and tissues wiped with who knows what. Originally, I didn't sit there. After tending to my wounds late that night, and it was almost dawn, Aunt Haley let me catch up on some sleep at her place. When I woke up and got to school, I found out that my mom was also there. Her hair was a mess, and she looked utterly disheveled. Seeing me holding Aunt Haley's hand, her eyes reddened. Then, without saying anything, she suddenly stormed into the office, pointing at the homeroom teacher's nose. She yelled, "It's all your fault for turning my precious daughter into a thief." The homeroom teacher, a gold medal teacher from a key provincial school, was relentlessly scolded by my mom. It was a huge loss of face for him. Eventually, the principal got involved. I don't know what happened after that. All I know is that during the evening self-study, the class president asked for an anonymous vote to pick the person with the worst conduct in class. I will never forget that moment. The class president stood on the high podium, with a pause after each word, his tone disdainful. "Stacy, you have the highest votes." Hebe wanted to report the class president to the teacher. I stopped her. The next day, when I got to the classroom, my desk had been moved next to the trash can. The homeroom teacher, seemingly approving, only said, "Well, you can sit there then." After that, more and more people started calling me a thief. They stuck labels with the word thief on my back. Once the rumor that I was a thief spread around the school, some thugs from outside school cornered me, demanding that I steal money and hand it over to them. "Isn't this the famous thief from our school? Heard you got caught stealing money by your parents." "Man, with such a notorious reputation as a thief, you only stole $500. You're not living up to your name if you're not pulling off bigger heists." It was Hebe who stopped them. "If you dare mess with me again, I'll have my dad beat you up once more." When open threats didn't work, they started spreading rumors behind my back, claiming I was Aunt Haley's illegitimate daughter. The insults were harsh, the rumors grew worse. Countless malicious eyes were always sizing up Hebe and me. Hebe's family truly cared for me, but it only brought them trouble. If it weren't for me, they wouldn't have had to deal with this mess. I couldn't keep involving them, so I distanced myself from Hebe, and when she caught up to me, I told her, "I'm just a rotten person. Stop looking for me, seeing how well your parents treat you. It just makes me feel worse. I'm jealous of you. Why were you born into unconditional love and happiness, while I, despite all my efforts and covered in bruises, can't even earn conditional love?" I will never forget that day. Hebe was enveloped in the dusky glow of the setting sun, her face shadowed in ambiguity. I couldn't make out her expression. All I heard was her voice, calm to the point of being almost indifferent, emotionless, each word piercing into my brain. No wonder your parents dislike you so much, you deserve it. For a few seconds, it felt like my heartbeat had stopped. As the words reached my lips, they turned into bitter ashes, breaking into meaningless, fragmented tones. A long time later, my consciousness finally returned. It turns out that when sorrow reaches its peak, tears simply cannot flow. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was stand there, repeating over and over, "I'm sorry." There was no one in front of me, only the clear, crisp moonlight poured down. That was before I died, the last time I saw Hebe. After returning home that evening, Sarah, without even taking off her backpack, clung to my mother's arm and put on a look of grievance. "Mom, today I asked my sister when she plans to come home. She looked upset and wouldn't say anything. It feels like she doesn't really want to come home." Sarah always liked to speak ambiguously, but she couldn't have imagined I was already dead. As expected, my mom's face changed, and she smashed the bowl to the ground. "She thinks others will really treat her well. They're just pitying her. Doesn't she look at herself? Who else would want her besides us? She doesn't deserve to be my child. From now on she can go wherever she wants. I won't care about her anymore." My dad also frowned, suppressing his anger. "She doesn't stay at her own home, preferring to go to someone else's house." Throwing all our faces, Sarah bent down to pick up the broken porcelain pieces, using this action to hide the smirk on her face. She bit her lip and added fuel to the fire. "Recently, a rumor spread at school saying my sister is Aunt Haley's illegitimate daughter." The air stilled for a moment. My dad frowned. "What nonsense are you talking? This child was born after your mother struggled between life and death. How did she become someone else's daughter?" My mom was stunned. After a long time, she said lightly, "I knew it. She's an ingrate, recognizing someone else as her mother. I never should have given birth to her." While preparing Sarah's favorite fruit snack, she spat out even more hurtful words. "I was too soft before, only hitting her hands. I should have broken her legs too, to keep her from running around." Even though I have heard many hurtful words and my heart has numbed, still, these words made tears unexpectedly fall. "Mom, do you know, the moment I fell from the rooftop, the instinct to survive miraculously made me grab the old railing, just with that left hand, the left hand that was beaten bloody with a bamboo stick, the left hand whose nerves were damaged. Even if Aunt Haley promptly took me to the hospital, what then? My left hand was still useless. The nerve damage is severe and the muscles in the hand are moderately atrophied, making simple movements like holding a cup difficult." The doctor paused his pen, then continued writing on the injury report. "Severe trembling in the hand, unable to hold steadily." The moment I grabbed the railing, agonizing pain spread from my arm throughout my body. A crushing sense of despair gripped me. A hand that trembles even when holding a cup, how could it possibly bear the weight of a human body? Dad tapped my hand repeatedly with the bamboo stick. Mom stood by, watching coldly. Could they have imagined, in the near future, their daughter would lose her last hope because of this left hand? In a brief breath, my body, like a snowflake in winter, fell uncontrollably and rapidly towards the cold, hard ground. With a thud, warm liquid choked my airways, each breath pulling at barbed wire. Bright red blood continuously splattered into my field of vision, spreading outward. The figure on the rooftop disappeared. The sounds of disordered crying came through, blurred and indistinct. "Her hand is still moving. We should call the police. Maybe there's still a chance to save her." "Are you an idiot? Calling the police means going to jail. Let's just get out of here. Nobody speaks of this after today." "Got it. It's like we were never here." In a daze, I remembered what my mom once told me. "If I told you to die, why wouldn't you just die?" "Mom, if only you knew. Because of my left hand, I've lost my last hope." What would your expression be? It might have been Sarah's words that angered my mom too much. While cutting fruit, she sliced her finger. Beads of blood welled up from the tip. Sometimes I feel, perhaps my mom does care about me a bit. Like now, she isn't rushing to bandage her finger but sits quietly in my room, her brows and eyes touched by the clear moonlight, wondering about something. Could there be a moment when she too reflects why her daughter, having a home, doesn't return, having a mother, isn't close? The next day, my mom couldn't bother to cook for her beloved daughter. rushing off to the company instead. She waited quietly near Aunt Haley's desk. Her features couldn't hide the fatigue but showed a determined resolve, as if she was set to take me back from Aunt Haley. Soon, Aunt Haley arrived. My mom poured a cup of water and slammed it down on the table. She began to speak, her voice sharp despite her efforts to control it. Haley, by age, you should be calling me sister. Every family has its own troubles. By both emotion and reason, you shouldn't overstep. The daughter I carried for 10 months. When did it become your place to meddle? Aunt Haley froze, looking very upset. She reached out to help me, only to be accused of meddling. Her kindness only brought forth my mom's harshness. My mom lowered her voice, each word as if squeezed through clenched teeth. What are you plotting in your family? Are you purposely trying to make things difficult for us? Is raising a child easy? I really don't get what's so good about your family. On New Year's Eve, you made Stacy not even return to her own home. Is it that you've been inciting Stacy to go against us? Aunt Haley was stunned. Sister, you've misunderstood. During the New Year, Stacy wasn't at our house. Hebe said Stacy went with you to H City. My mom's anger suddenly froze on her face. Her mouth still open. She stood stunned. Not at your house. My mom realized, and scoffed, so now you're denying it. Determined to acknowledge someone else as her mother, before she could finish, my mom's phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed my number. That second-hand phone, my mom fiercely tapped the green button, too impatient to wait for the other side to speak. She burst out, Stacy, where the hell have you been? Not answering calls, running around outside. You're grown up and still don't understand anything. Get back home right now. The person on the other end seemed taken aback. Pausing for a few seconds before asking, is this Stacy's mother? A completely unfamiliar male voice, leaving my mom stunned. She instinctively replied, yes, I am. Who are you? Let Stacy speak. We found a female body deceased on January 28th, around 6 in the evening. We found this phone in the deceased's clothing, noted as belonging to the victim's mother. Could we trouble you to come and identify the body? During those unbearable days, I always wondered, if I were to die, would my parents be sad? Would they feel a bit of guilt? At that moment, my mother's expression faltered for a second, but quickly, it was suppressed by her cold indifference. She didn't believe it. No matter who you are, put Stacy on the phone, not only running away from home but faking death too. Who taught you this? Then she abruptly hung up the phone. My mother wiped her forehead as if somewhat relieved, and chuckled, trying to fool me. I've experienced more of life than you've even walked. Her words were cut off. The phone rang again. This time the caller ID showed 911. My mother froze, staring at those 3 digits as if they were a ferocious beast. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, with trembling hands. She pressed the answer button. Mrs. Kathy, this is the chief of the criminal division from J City, badge number 100869. We found a female body, deceased around 6 p.m. on January 28th. We found this phone in the victim's clothing, and you are listed as her mother in the contacts. Could you please come and identify the body? The caller spoke in one breath, his tone steady. Can you believe it now, Mrs. Kathy? I hovered near the autopsy table, looking at what used to be me. My body was deformed in many places. Broken bones pierced through the skin, exposed unevenly. Dark red ice clung around the wounds. In my pale eyes was the despair of my final moments. The soft white light in the autopsy room made tears stream down my face. Mom, I'm dead, as you wished. Why aren't you smiling? A dense shadow was cast over my mother's face by the stark white light. She seemed calm, as if she didn't recognize the person lying on the autopsy table. The deceased had tried desperately to cling to the edge of the rooftop before falling. Her left fingernails show severe signs of avulsion and breakage. With the nail beds exposed, the palm of her hand had its epidermis extensively peeled off due to the excessive force, exposing the dermis. Her face, having hit the ground with significant force, was somewhat deformed, and her body had multiple open fractures. Officer James opened the door and gestured for her to come with his hand. My condolences, but we need to understand a few things from you. My mother calmly followed the officer, walking out of the autopsy room. Whispers followed from behind. This murderer was too cruel to have battered the young girl's hands like this. No, those are old injuries, the forensic doctor quietly countered, his expression pained. It's presumed she was fiercely beaten with items like bamboo sticks. My mother's steps halted abruptly. If only, perhaps she could have waited for rescue. Officer James turned back. "What's the matter?" I intently watched my mother, trying to find any trace of panic or guilt on her face, but there was none. My mother didn't respond to Officer James, but started walking again. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the door, panting. "Kathy, what's going on?" My dad wiped his forehead. "Stacy was just fine. How could she be dead?" His voice carried a mix of astonishment and doubt. It seemed like my mom didn't hear my dad. Her head lowered as she followed behind Officer James. "Kathy, I'm talking to you." "No noise," Officer James barked authoritatively. "Take him to another interrogation room. Let the deputy handle it." In the interrogation room, a young policeman pulled out a chair for my mom. He also prepared paper and a pen, and sat across from my mom, next to Officer James. With a loud bang, my mom ended up on the floor. The chair toppled over, leaving her in a disheveled state. The young policeman was startled. "The chair was fine, I checked it." "Mom, why did you sit on an empty chair? What were you thinking about? Were you thinking about me? Where were you at 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve? What were you doing? Who were you with?" Officer James got straight to the point without any pleasantries. Suddenly, my mom's lips began to tremble violently, her nails digging deep into her flesh. After a long pause, a hoarse voice broke the silence. It was the first thing my mom said since arriving at the police station. In H City, watching the New Year's fireworks show, with my husband Jack, and my daughter Sarah, I feel such hatred. Mom, that snowy night, the heavy snow swirling down, falling into my unfocused eyes, melting into the dark red layer of snow. Where were you then? You were with Sarah, watching the grandest, most dazzling fireworks show in H City, the fireworks show I had looked forward to all year. Not that I particularly liked it. I just wanted to stand beside you under the splendid night sky. To give you the wool shawl I had saved up to buy. Last New Year, you casually complained that all your colleagues had wool shawls except for you. No one understands the pain of having not when others have, better than I do. I kept it in my heart, saving every day's dinner money, drinking water when I was hungry. $3,199, saved over an entire year, just for that moment. To nonchalantly tell you, "Mom, I love you. I would buy you everything you wanted. Could you perhaps love me a little too?" Not much. Just a smile every day. Then I could convince myself that my mom actually loves me. Amidst the deafening fireworks, your eyes and heart were filled only with Sarah. You covered her ears. With a tender smile I had never seen before, you told her, "Sweetheart, Happy New Year." Was it just the three of you? Why didn't you bring Stacy? Officer James crossed his arms, his expression cold and scrutinizing, missing nothing on my mom's face. My mom didn't speak, she just stared blankly into space. "Speak up. Why didn't you bring Stacy?" "We had a fight." My mom's speech suddenly quickened, her tone agitated. She screamed at me. "You know how hard it was when I gave birth to her. I nearly died. I work so hard every day. I give so much to this family, and she knows nothing. Why should she treat me that way? Is it because I owe her, feeding her, clothing her, and she still acts so entitled? I should never have had her." What was the fight about? It was as though someone suddenly choked my mom, silencing her, and she fell back into silence. Her eyelids drooped, her face expressionless. Officer James tried to console her. "I know you're in pain. You can take a moment before you speak, but it's best if you can tell the truth to provide effective information for solving the case. Your pain aside, Stacy is already dead, and we're not sure if it was suicide or homicide. The place where I died was an old neighborhood scheduled for demolition, and the surveillance system had been removed. My body was only discovered a week later. Continuous heavy snow had covered many traces. I'm not sure which word triggered my mom's nerves. She suddenly stood up, the chair making a shrill scraping noise. It couldn't have been a sussy. She stopped abruptly, mouth agape, completely bewildered. After a moment, she hunched her back and slowly sat down. I promised her, if she made it to the top 10 at the end of term, I'd take her to H City. Actually, even if she hadn't made it, I would have taken her. But I didn't expect that this year's annual bonus was much less than before, and I was very upset at that time. I also didn't expect her to rank 9th. With her capabilities, that's simply impossible. I thought she had cheated. She was the first to start screaming madly. Officer James frowned, trying to piece together the truth from the fragmented words. "So, you promised her, but when the budget fell short, You reneged on it using her alleged cheating as an excuse, and she got very angry. Why did you think she cheated? Was it just an excuse you made up, or had she copied before? She had stolen before. My mom choked up again. Now she knew, Sarah had stolen the money. My mom fell silent repeatedly, perhaps because she realized that none of the reasons she had gotten angry were my fault. The interrogation lasted all day. After it ended, my mom walked out of the interrogation room with heavy steps. My dad was sitting on a nearby chair, holding his head, clearly exhausted. The two of them went home in silence. The moment they opened the door, Sarah approached them, holding a glass of water, pouting, "Mom and Dad, you must be so tired from work. Why are you home so late today?" My mom stared at the glass of water, her gaze vacant. In the past, when they came home, I would greet them with warm water. In Sarah's imagination, Mom and Dad would pat her head and gently praise her, saying, "What a thoughtful child you are." But in reality, there was only deafening silence. No one responded to her. Sarah's smile froze on her face, a flash of anger in her eyes. She tilted her head and said sweetly, "Mom and Dad must be really tired today. I feel so sorry for you. It's a pity my sister doesn't understand how to be considerate of you." Sarah sighed, genuinely disappointed. Today at school, I tried my best to persuade her to come home. I told her that Mom and Dad are really worried about her. Even though she did something wrong, Mom and Dad won't blame her. But my sister, my mom suddenly shifted her gaze to Sarah, her expression darkening like storm clouds. "What did you say?" Sarah froze. She probably thought that the dark looks on our parents' faces were because I hadn't come home, so she blinked her innocent eyes and continued softly, "My sister said she wants to consider Aunt Haley her mom and never wants to come home." Before she could finish, a loud slap sounded, the glass shattered, and the water splashed, wetting everyone's ankles. It was like my death, and how everyone was implicated. Sarah covered her red face, looking incredulously at my mom. "Mom, these are my sister's words. Why are you angry at me? My sister is disobedient, but I have always been good. I know my mom is heartbroken because of my sister, but, Sarah," my mom shouted sternly, her voice trembling. For the first time, she used her beloved daughter's full name, no longer endearing. "Did you know your sister is dead?" Sarah was shocked. Panic flashed in her eyes as she forced a smile. "Is there some mistake? How could my sister?" Before she could finish, Officer James appeared from behind my parents and entered the house. "We need to go inside to collect evidence. Please wait by the door." His crisp police uniform stunned Sarah. My dad slammed his hand against the coat rack, clothes scattered on the floor, blood dripping steadily. "Enough. At your young age, you lie so much. Who did you learn this from? You have really disappointed us." The judgments once directed at me, now shifted to Sarah. I had always hoped that my parents would see Sarah's true nature. As kids, even though my parents favored Sarah, we got along well. She was close and dependent on me. I don't know when it started, Sarah suddenly changed. In front of our parents, she was always the sensible, caring little angel. When alone, she looked down on me as if I were trash. "Stacy, your grades are so poor, you're utterly useless." I don't know why my sister suddenly turned like that. On one hand, she had a soft smile, but on the other, she would utter such venomous words. "If I were you, I would have died long ago. Living as a waste is just a squander of resources, being the bottom of the elite class. What a shame it must be for your parents to have a daughter like you. Why should someone like you share equally in the love of my parents? It's just not fair." During a downpour, Mom and Dad only remembered to pick up Sarah. At parent-teacher meetings, they only identified themselves as Sarah's parents. The latest smartphones, designer clothes, exorbitant tuition fees. Sarah just has to ask, and she gets them. When it comes to me, all I hear is, "Focus on your studies," and, "It's not worth buying that for you." Mom made a table full of seafood, all Sarah's favorites, all the things I'm allergic to. When Dad returned from a business trip, he brought back only Sarah's favorite doll, and she already has a whole wardrobe of those dolls. This is what Sarah calls sharing the love equally. Even so, Sarah is still greedy. She still wants more. She told our parents that I was bad-mouthing them at school. She claimed I wasn't studying hard, was involved in early romance, and talked back to the teachers. That's why I was seated next to the trash can by a teacher. She mentioned I occasionally peeked at others' answers during quizzes and tests, wondering aloud if that had anything to do with my ninth-place finish in the final exams. "Why would you lie to us?" My mom gripped Sarah's arm tightly, as if she had been greatly deceived. Do you know that while you were slandering her, she was lying alone in the snow? If it weren't for you, I could have found her sooner. Sarah winced from the grip, and upon hearing Mom's accusation, she suddenly laughed. Do you really think you would have found her sooner? Mom was stunned, her hand raised high. This time, it wasn't to embrace Sarah in her arms. When the police were collecting evidence, my mom was barred from my bedroom. Her gaze, which hardly ever fell on me, now swept every corner of the room. The police took 3 items, placing them in evidence bags: a thin blade, a color-printed A4 paper, a shopping receipt. The blade was hidden in the most frequently used textbook. The receipt was neatly folded, showing care from its owner. On the back of the A4 paper, in beautiful handwriting, was written a sentence. Officer James, accustomed to life and death, turned his head slightly and covered his eyes when he read it. It was a scenic print of H City, under the brilliant, dazzling fireworks. A family of 3 embraced tightly together. That night, after arguing with my mom, I cried alone in my room for a long time. Tears silently streamed down, pattering on the blanket. The next day, I borrowed a phone from Hebe, hiding in the bathroom. I searched online for many scenic photos of H City and chose the one I liked best. Then I went to the school's print shop and printed it on an A4 sheet. It only cost $2. Quite a bargain, my parents once said. Spending money on me was not quite worth it. A one-on-one lesson costs at least $500, and with her grades, it's not worth it. A dress costs over $1,000, and she's not an outstanding graduate who can speak on stage like Sarah. Not worth it. Going to H City costs thousands per person, and for her, they didn't know, the room wasn't that soundproof. Every calculation, every evaluation, every appraisal they made, I could hear it all, time and again. I was weighed in their hearts. Each time a judgment was made, the verdict was always the same: not worth it. A trip to H City, just for $2, you can buy a beautiful dream. Really a bargain. When my mother saw the razor blade in the evidence bag, her pupils shrank and her face turned ashen in an instant. Officer James noticed and approached her, staring intently. What's wrong? My mother, in a fluster, lowered her head and stared at her toes. When can we get Stacy's belongings back? Once the truth is clarified, if these items are unrelated to the case, they will naturally be returned. Then please, catch the murderer as soon as possible. Solving the case promptly is our duty. But, Officer James narrowed his eyes, changing his tone. Why are you so sure it was murder? Back in the interrogation room, my mother had an unusual reaction when she heard suicide. And why are you fixating on this razor blade? My mother's lips trembled, and she looked up, locking eyes with Officer James' deep gaze. After a moment, my mother covered her eyes, her voice barely audible from her throat. I've seen that blade before. There was a time when I was drawing on my arm with a razor blade, without knocking. My mother burst through the door. She saw it. In a panic, I clumsily placed the blade on the table and timidly called out, Mom. After the initial shock, deep down, I couldn't help but harbor a secret hope. I was sick. Would my mother care about me? Would she see the pain in my heart? Would she embrace me and say, I'm sorry, it's my fault for making you suffer? Tears welled up, blurring my mother's face. I saw her walking quickly towards me. I opened my mouth, wanting to say something proactively. The next second, my head was slapped to the side, tears streamed down, and my vision cleared instantly. I finally saw my mother's expression. It wasn't worry, it wasn't compassion, it was anger. What are you doing? Are you being selfish? How can you be dissatisfied? I'm having such a hard time, and I've never complained. Don't take your blessings for granted. You have a much happier life than I did as a child. My mother's hands trembled slightly, her tone weary. She made her final judgment. Stop making a fuss, you're old enough to know better. My mother told Officer James that she had seen me self-harm, but that day, she had been scolded by her boss. She toiled from dawn till dusk for her job. Not only was her work easily stolen by others, but she also missed out on the promotions and salary increases she deserved. Full of grievances and nowhere to vent them, she came home to find me, not studying at my desk as expected. Instead, I was casually drawing with a blade on my arm. In a moment of impulse, she hit me. I finally realized, my mother could never see my pain. In her eyes, cutting oneself with a blade was just for fun. I really didn't expect things to be so serious. I didn't realize she was so fragile. Children are supposed to endure hardship, Didn't all kids grow up being beaten? Why is she any different? The ravages of time etched fine lines around my mother's eyes. Her eyes, filled with crimson doubt. Officer James sighed and patted my mother on the shoulder. Times have changed. The pressures facing today's children are greater. You've been wronged. Taking out anger on a child leaves them with no outlet for their own frustrations, except perhaps to turn that anger inward, hurting themselves. What adult could endure being treated like a child, subjected to endless scolding, belittling, shouting, mockery, and criticism? Don't be too hard on yourself, they told her. The case isn't clear yet. It might not have been a suicide. My mother wiped the corners of her eyes forcefully, her expression cold and stern. Why should I feel guilty? Up to now, regarding my death, she is confused, shocked, panicked, speculative, but not guilty. She doesn't think she did anything wrong. Officer James probably has never seen parents like this before. He didn't say much else. My always silent father and Sarah nodded and walked away. Snow began to fall again. Officer James looked up, gazing into the grim, overcast night. Captain James. Are we heading back to the station next? It's late. Everyone go home. Officer James snapped back to reality, pulled out his phone, and sent a message to his daughter. Then he pocketed his phone and breathed out heavily. In a haze of white fog, he slowly said, the surveillance shows Stacy went to the rooftop alone. 5 minutes after she left, Hebe arrived at Stacy's home. 17 minutes later, Hebe sent her the first text message. Up to now, there have been 12. We'll go to the school at 7 in the morning to talk to Hebe. Before I moved to the trash can side, Hebe and I had been desk mates for over 2 years. When we joined the class, she was last in grades, I was second to last. Though our scores could easily get us into top universities, it didn't change the fact that we were at the bottom of the elite class, destined to be seen as less than others. But Hebe didn't see it that way. She never thought failing to solve the last big problem on a math test was something to be ashamed of. When the teacher called on her and she didn't know the answer, she wasn't flustered or embarrassed. When report cards were handed out, she would place hers openly on the desk, unlike me, who would crumple mine up and throw it in a deserted corner. I once asked Hebe, why would you want to be friends with someone with such poor grades? Hebe stopped writing, turned to me, and smiled brightly. Do you have to be good at studying to have friends? Isn't that the case? Only if you're good at studying do you get your parents' love, classmates' attention, and teachers' favor. I later realized, that's not how it is. Hebe's parents loved her, because a child's mere presence is enough to bring joy to their parents. This love doesn't fluctuate with external conditions, but I never experienced that kind of effortless love. So I had to earn my parents' love by desperately studying, improving my grades. Eating one meal a day, sleeping at 2 a.m., waking up at 6 a.m., slapping myself hard whenever I felt sleepy. Once, I slapped myself 4 times in a row. Hebe grabbed my wrist. Should people who are poor at studying not deserve to live? What about those who can't get into college? Does their life just stop? If Sarah mocks your grades again, I'll hit her. Don't care about what those people think. Don't agree with that set of values. On unbearable days. The moment before the cold blade touched my skin, I would think of Hebe. Just hold on a little longer. When you grow up, you'll be able to distance yourself from parents who drain you, they said. That's great for Hebe. That's great for Aunt Haley. Why should I be the reason for endless rumors? As I struggled for breath in the snow, beyond the pain and despair, I felt relief. It's good that Hebe and I had that fight. It really is. In her heart, I'm not worth it. I despicably envied her happiness. Tried to tarnish her with mud, a thoroughly rotten person. That's good, that way, when she hears of my death, she won't be saddened. I'm not worth her sorrow. She's not like me. She'll meet better friends in the future. She'll have a bright and clear life. That's truly wonderful, but when I saw the text on my phone, I broke down. Chinese New Year's Eve, January 29th, 6 p.m., I'm here to see you, standing at your door. The lights are on at your house, but you didn't open the door. Are you still angry, or did your parents change their mind about taking you to H City again? 8 p.m., you're not replying to my messages. 8:04 p.m., I was wrong that day. 8:05 p.m., I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said those things. You have every right to be angry. I'm sorry, the rumors aren't your fault. My mom asked me to tell you not to be afraid, not to push us away. We can face it together. 8:05 p.m., if you've calmed down, could you send an okay? 10 p.m., I have some great news that could make you cry tears of joy. Want to know? Just send an okay, and I'll tell you. 10:10 p.m. Never mind. It's better to tell you in person. 10:11 p.m. You're not picking up calls or replying to texts. You. 10:12 p.m. You must have gone to H City. I know you too well. You couldn't be angry for so long. See you when school reopens, and then you'll know this incredibly amazing news. 11:59 p.m. Hehe. Chinese New Year. January 30th, 12 p.m. Stacy, Happy New Year's Eve. May the love you receive this year bear no interest. May you one day leave toxic relationships behind. May your path be less troubled, the storms end, and peace be unimpeded. May this new year and all the years to come find us as the best of friends, ever by each other's side. In the classroom, the trash in the bin had been cleared, but the garbage on my desk kept piling up. Hebe came over with a broom and carefully swept up. She picked up the books scattered on the floor and stacked them neatly. Then, she carried the dustpan over to William. William was the first one who had deliberately thrown trash on my desk. When one person starts doing that, others will follow suit without needing to speak, even if the teacher saw. She would only scold me for being messy. Whenever I was isolated in the past, Hebe always stood up for me. She told me not to be afraid even if it was a teacher. Learn to fight back and protect yourself. In that moment, Hebe gently raised her hand. A shower of garbage fell. William's eyes widened in shock, and he kicked the table away. Hebe, are you crazy? What got into you? Hebe blinked innocently. I'm just returning things to their rightful owner. Trash takes care of trash. William slammed his book onto the ground, his face darkening. Don't think I won't hit you just because you're a girl. Hebe smiled softly. Come on, I'm a level 2 boxer. From a young age, Hebe was sent to learn boxing by her parents. Aunt Haley told her, if someone bullies you, you have to fight back. But, Mom, I'm a girl. Then cry your heart out while you fight back. Aunt Haley also told her that in a confrontation, if you appear weak, your opponent will be strong. Avoiding won't solve the problem. Better to confront the person causing the problem directly. Why do you only target me when there are so many others? William's face turned ugly. Hebe flashed a brilliant smile, tilting her head. I only saw you do it. From now on, I'll blame you for anyone's litter. Whenever there's trash, I'll return it to you. Hee. So, it would be great if student William could keep an eye on it. William wanted to say something more, but footsteps approached. The figure of the head teacher appeared at the door. Hebe, the police are looking for you. It's said that unhappy children often fantasize about death. I once asked Hebe, after I die, could you bury me on the mountains by the sea? The cicadas of summer began to chirp as Hebe opened the window, letting the cool breeze in. She pursed her lips and asked me, why? So I can look out over the vast ocean. With the harsh mountain wind and the moist sea breeze visiting me in turns, I paused. It would be as if my life could be as vast as the sea. I wouldn't have to be burdened by the fates of others. Finally, I could control my own life. Hebe was silent for a long while. What I'm asking is, why are you thinking about death when it's so far away? You're only 18, life is just beginning. Although it seems far, it also feels near. Just being prepared. I curved my eyes, jokingly. Maybe one day, the police will suddenly find you, serious-faced. Student Hebe. Student Stacy has died. Please cooperate with our investigation. The joke from those years became reality. In the office temporarily serving as an interrogation room, Officer James had already confirmed Hebe's alibi. He also clarified the reason behind our argument. Hebe bit her nails hard and asked again, Stacy, what happened to her? She had a habit of biting her nails when scared. One last question. After you answer, I'll tell you. We found Stacy's phone. You sent her 12 messages. Officer James paused. What was the good news? Hebe was stunned. Then, she took out a bank card from her school uniform pocket and placed it on the table. The good news was that my parents had prepared a New Year's money envelope and a new phone for Stacy. My parents agreed to consider her as their goddaughter and even prepared this bank card for her university tuition and living expenses. The password is her birthday. If she doesn't want this birthday anymore, she can change it. My head buzzed, almost unable to hear the rest. We wanted to tell her that once you're an adult, you're free. Hebe smiled, her eyes full of longing. I can just imagine the stunned, happy expression on her face when she heard the news. Even though I'm younger than her, I want to be this big sister. She had endured so much. It was time she was treated like the beloved sister she deserved to be. Hebe suddenly fell silent. It was so quiet that only the howling wind outside the window could be heard. After a long while, did something happen to her? A barely audible voice arose. I rushed in front of Officer James, shaking my head frantically. Don't say it, don't tell her. Officer James took several deep breaths, but still his voice trembled slightly. Stacy left before you sent the first message. Hebe stared blankly at Officer James, utterly confused. What do you mean, left? She fell from a building. Hebe's eyes widened instantly, her face drained of color, her lips trembling. After a moment, Hebe asked softly, was it because of our fight? Officer James gently shook his head. It's still unclear whether it was suicide or homicide. I knelt on the ground, clutching my chest tightly. Hebe stretched out her hands, slowly covering her face. Stacy loved the ocean. I had already found coastal universities for us. I was going to say, let's apply together. Hebe couldn't continue. Tears quietly streamed down through her fingers, rolling and falling. After a long time, she said, we could apply to a university by the sea, and after classes, we could run to watch the tide and collect shells. We could work part-time to save money. You wouldn't have to contact your hateful parents anymore. You could live very well without them. You don't need to please them. You will have a wonderful future. Hebe broke down in tears. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have fought with you. I slowly floated in front of Hebe and hugged her tightly. It's not your fault. I fell because of those thugs. I also wanted to go to the same university as you. My plan was to fill out the same choices as you after the college entrance examination. Once I could support myself and get away from my parents. I was going to tell you everything. Wherever you go, I would follow, sticking to you, becoming your good friend. But Hebe couldn't hear me anymore. When I left, people were living normally. When people found out I was gone, some were shocked and angry, some cried, some were afraid, some tried to disassociate themselves. Even with a police officer present, class leader Leo, undisturbed, adjusted his silver-rimmed glasses and spoke calmly. Officer, what can I do for you? Officer James interrupted. His sharp gaze fixed on him. I heard you organized a class vote anonymously, asking for Stacy to be moved next to the trash can. Oh, you must be mistaken. How could such a thing happen? I'm the class president. Why would I do that? Officer James frowned. The evidence is conclusive. A classmate confirmed it was you who organized the vote. Are you still going to deny it? Leo shrugged nonchalantly. You're talking about Hebe, right? Her words aren't necessarily reliable. Maybe she's so wrong. Or maybe she's trying to smear me. I'm serious and responsible. I've done so much for the class. Why would I target Stacy for no reason? Officer James's voice remained steady but carried an undeniable pressure. Do I need to smash the surveillance footage in your face before you admit it? Leo's expression shifted slightly but quickly regained composure. Oh, so that happened. But I was just following the will of the people. The vote was everyone's desire. As the class president, of course. I had to lead by example. At that time, there were 58 votes in favor. For abstentions, he suddenly laughed, revealing two sharp canines. If you want to blame someone, blame those 58 people. Officer James slammed the table, his voice rising. Do you realize, Leo, your actions could have indirectly led to Stacy's death? Leo was taken aback. While I was still alive, it all seemed like minor squabbles among students. Nobody really cared, until the avalanche happened. Only then did people realize that they were that last featherlight snowflake. But what did it mean to me? I didn't know it would come to this. Leo stood up in panic. Her isolation was her own fault. Who told her to misbehave? Her mother herself said she was a thief. It has nothing to do with me. How can you blame me, officer? Instead of wasting your time on me alone, you should investigate Sarah. She's Stacy's own sister and she also voted in favor. Officer James wanted to say more. But his phone suddenly rang. It was the coroner. He shot Leo a cold glance. Whether it's related or not isn't for you to decide. The law will judge. Officer James left with brisk steps, leaving Leo standing there, pale and trembling. Captain James, we've found new evidence in the autopsy. We found finger-shaped bruises on the side of Stacy's neck, due to extensive soft tissue contusions from the high-speed fall impact. These were mixed up with the bruised areas. So we missed them in the initial autopsy. This means there might have been someone else with Stacy on the rooftop. The individual finger marks are 1.8 centimeters in diameter with a 3 centimeters gap between them, leading us to preliminarily suspect that the perpetrator is likely a male adult around 20 years old. Perhaps we should question Stacy's male classmates. Okay, Officer James hung up the phone and was about to head to the classroom. A few figures flashed around the corner of the hallway. Leading them was a blonde-haired boy, Frank. They were the culprits. Almost at the same moment, Hebe ran from the other side of the hallway. "Officer," she called out urgently, her voice sharp with anxiety. "I forgot to mention earlier, there were some unemployed youths from outside the school who often bullied Stacy, coercing her to steal money." Before she could finish, Hebe's eyes widened, pointing towards the corner. "It's them. How are they here in the school?" Everything happened in a flash. The figures scattered in all directions. Officer James pushed through the crowd and chased after the nearest one, Frank. In a few breaths, Frank had run out of the building, about to blend into the bustling campus crowd. Officer James vaulted over the railing with both hands, flipping through the air. He landed, rolled forward a few times, and quickly stood up, blocking Frank's path. Startled, Frank paused, too late to turn around. His collar was grabbed fiercely by the officer, and with a bang, he was thrown to the ground, immobilized. "Why run?" Frank, terrified, turned pale, his legs weak, shaking like a leaf. "I'm sorry, it was a mistake. I didn't mean to. I didn't expect the railing to suddenly collapse." Officer James' eyes widened in shock. Time rewinds to New Year's Eve. "After arguing with Hebe yesterday, I went home alone. Mom and Sarah had already rushed to the airport, and Mom left a note on the fridge. 'Be safe at home alone, don't wander off.' Outside, the sound of firecrackers and fireworks continued unabated. Light streamed through the windows into the empty living room. I stared at the note. A tide of loneliness overwhelmed me, making it hard to breathe. I set down my backpack, took out my exam papers, and neatly stacked them. I set the alarm clock to count down for 2 hours. Pressing the start button, I bent my head to read and write, one paper, then another, until my shoulders ached and trembled. And the pen fell from my hand onto the floor with a sharp sound, snapping me back to reality. It was already the next day. I had been sitting motionless for nearly 20 hours. My brain did not register hunger or thirst. I paused to think. Bending down, I picked up the pen, flipped open a new paper. Just as I was about to start writing, there was a thud 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 at the door. I froze. My brain felt rusty, and it took me a while to realize someone was knocking. Slowly, I walked to the door and opened it. But no one was there. There was a note on the ground. 6 p.m. Meet at the rooftop of Building 1, Happiness Community. I have something urgent to tell you. I recognized it instantly. It was Hebe's handwriting. Having been deskmates for over 2 years, I was familiar with her script. The word urgent clenched my heart. Happiness Community wasn't far, an old 6-story building soon to be demolished. I hurriedly put on my down jacket, too rushed to turn off the lights, and dashed out. My mind was a blur and dizzy. If only I had paid more attention, would have realized it wasn't Hebe's handwriting, just a very good imitation. 5:42 p.m. I left my house. 5:45 p.m. I ran too fast and tripped. As dusk fell, I didn't notice a familiar figure not far away, running towards the back door of the community. 5:47 p.m. Hebe arrived at my place, knocked on the door, but no one answered. "Stacy, I see your lights on. Don't pretend you're not home. I came to apologize. How about you come over to my place for New Year's Eve? It's so cold outside. Would you really let me freeze out here?" 5:52 p.m. I reached Building 1 of Happiness Community. No one was there. 5:53 p.m. 5 people appeared on the rooftop. I realized I had been tricked. "Everyone says you're a thief. What's wrong with asking you to steal some money? Why won't you listen to me?" The leader snarled, gripping my neck tightly, his face twisted with rage. He slammed me against the rooftop railing. A dull thud echoed. Pain from suffocation hit me. The effects of not eating for a long time became apparent. Dizzy and weak, I couldn't break free from the adult's grip. "You like hiding behind Hebe, huh? Why not hide now? Hebe's so tough, likes to hit people then pay their medical bills. What if I disable you and just pay some money? Will that do?" Another girl stepped forward, grabbed my ear, and twisted it hard. "You think you're so great because you're in the honors class, looking down on everyone. Think people with bad grades don't deserve to live. Heard your parents took Sarah on a trip. Leaving you home alone, must be nice. Feeling abandoned, huh? Heard there's no one at your house. Bring us some money from home, and we'll let you go. How about that?" I struggled desperately to free myself from the hand choking my neck. The surroundings were noisy, and no one heard the faint click sound the weather-beaten fence, long neglected, couldn't withstand the pressure. Everything seemed to slow down immensely, scenes flashing before my eyes. Suddenly, I felt lighter on my back. Frank staggered forward, then someone next to him grabbed him tightly. Their expressions changed from anger to horror frame by frame. In an instant, my left hand caught the railing of the rooftop. Pain pierced deep into my nerves like steel needles. It was almost instantaneous. The pain overwhelmed my nerves, and I let go of my hand. The howling wind filled my ears as everything before my eyes rapidly shrank. The figures on the rooftop railing, all gradually moved away from me. Eventually, everything turned into a vast expanse of red. Cold snowflakes drifted down, melting into the spreading red. A few chaotic cries came through unclearly. Her hand is still moving. Let's call the police. Maybe there's still a chance. Are you stupid? Call the police and you're asking to be jailed. Let's get out of here. She fell down by herself. I didn't push her. Nobody speak of this outside. You hear? We were never here. The next second, my phone buzzed with a vibration. The screen lit up. I came to find you. I'm at the door. Your house lights are on. But you didn't answer. Are you still mad? Or did your parents change their mind about taking you to H City? At the same time, over H City, fireworks burst brilliantly into the sky. A mother's eyes and heart were filled only with her daughter beside her. She reached out, covering her ears. Her face bloomed with a gentle smile, pausing between words. Baby, Happy New Year's Eve. In the interrogation room, 5 criminals confessed without denial. They were all unemployed youths. After running out of money, they thought of asking me for some, remembering how they had harassed me before, but were always stopped by Hebe. Sarah had spread rumors that my parents were taking only her to H City, leaving me alone at home. They also happened to see Hebe and me arguing. Even though it was winter break, the school was still open for students to study in the classrooms. Taking advantage of a moment when the school guard was distracted by his phone, they sneaked into the school, found Hebe's notebook, and imitated her handwriting to write that note. They said, they just wanted to scare me a little for some money. They never expected the railing to suddenly collapse. That girl cried breathlessly, continuously apologizing. She said she had nightmares every day. In her dreams, I was covered in blood, silently watching her, not saying a word. When they saw police coming to investigate the school, they climbed over the back wall to find out what was happening. The police took my parents to the detention room. They hadn't seen each other for a day. My mother seemed to have aged 10 years. Her clothes wrinkled beyond recognition. A deathly aura enveloped her. Deep furrows were etched into my father's brow. After a long silence, my mother's voice trembled as she asked, "Are you the ones who killed my daughter?" Upon hearing my mother's voice, Frank suddenly looked up. His hands, cuffed in silver, clanked loudly against the iron bars. "How can you blame us?" His eyes were fierce, his gaze chilling as he stared at my mother. "You are the real killer of Stacy," he shouted. The iron bars shook violently with a loud clang. Blondie screamed as if he was coughing up blood. "It was you who said she stole $500. It was you who went to the school and personally admitted your daughter was a thief. That's why we knew her, why we asked her for money. Otherwise, we wouldn't even know her or have any reason to bear a grudge. Leading to everything that happened, the real murderer is you. Police, arrest her." Officer James kicked the door fiercely and shouted, "Shut up." My mother's lips trembled violently, and she staggered back, falling against the wall and sliding down. A female officer turned away, sobbing softly. "It was just $500. In this world, everything has a cause, and everything has an effect. Life has its price marked in the dark. Perhaps the price of my life was just $500. It seemed everything had settled. The dead were gone, but the living continued. At school, students went about their studies, preparing for college entrance exams. My desk was removed. All traces of me were erased from the school. Occasionally, someone would mention my name, but it was mostly out of gossip. The building complex where I fell was also demolished. Soon, new skyscrapers would stand tall, showing no signs that a life once ended there. My parents' life trajectory was shattered. But they soon established a new order. It seemed my death had become a thing of the past, yet something silently shattered, never to return. Like now, my mother sat alone in a dimly lit room. Her fingers gently touched a photo of me. Back when our relationship wasn't so bad, we had taken a family photo. My mother held me, and my father held Sarah, both smiling happily at the camera. This early family photo, I treasured it in my desk drawer, often taking it out to look at its yellowing edges. In later family photos, I was absent. My departure brought these dark memories back to the surface to be cherished. Mother, what are you looking at? I floated in front of my mother. Meeting her gaze, tears began to well up in those eyes that always hurt me. Tears fell on the photo, blurring my face. My mother hurriedly stood up and wiped the tears from the photo as if it were a precious treasure. Mother, this is the family photo you once threw in the trash. I quietly picked it back up. What are you cherishing now? My mother couldn't hear my questioning. She placed the photo squarely on the table and left the room. She returned shortly with a cloth in hand and began to wipe my urn. Looking at the family photo and wiping the urn had become her daily ritual. The urn gathered no dust. Its black lacquer surface emitted a coldness, just like the expressionless face in the photo above. She gazed coldly at the world. My mom searched the entire house but couldn't find a single photo of me smiling. She stopped cooking and cleaning. At first, my dad would pat her shoulder, telling her not to be too heartbroken. The two middle-aged parents, who lost their daughter, sought comfort in each other's warmth. As time passed, my mom remained engulfed in numbness and sorrow. Dust gathered on the kitchen counter. The fruits, vegetables, meat, and eggs we had bought gradually rotted and stank. The floors in the house became dirtier, and piles of dirty laundry turned into mountains. The whole house started to emit a foul smell. Sarah switched from being a day student to boarding, returning home only on Saturdays. Escaping the chaos, my dad looked at the messy house. His hands clenched into fists, his face strained with bulging veins. Suppressing his rage, he growled, "People die, so we just stop living, is that it?" As if she hadn't heard, my mom continued to polish the urn, watching her back. My dad muttered a curse under his breath. I looked at my dad's furious face. Suddenly, I felt a wave of sadness. In my memories, my mom was either hysterical or frighteningly indifferent, and my dad, mostly silent, like an invisible man. He would occasionally burst into a rage, asserting his authority as a father. If for my mom, my departure was like an endless damp, trapping her within. For my dad, my departure was like a sudden storm. The storm ended almost immediately. He moved on from the grief of my death so quickly, it was as if he had never grieved at all. The next day, my mom took a longer route home from work, one that passed by the school. She happened upon students on their weekend break, among the bustling crowd. Many were talking about me. "Hey, did you hear? On New Year's Eve, a high school senior jumped from a building at our school." "Really? Why? Was it the academic pressure? I don't understand these kids today, jumping off buildings at the slightest provocation. Who did they learn this from?" A parent chimed in discontentedly. "We parents work hard to raise you, and then you just jump so easily. Have you ever considered your parents' feelings?" Yeah, students nowadays are just too fragile. They can't handle the slightest adversity because they've been coddled too much. My mom froze, then followed behind the students and parents. They didn't notice her presence and continued their chatter. "Man, you're clueless. It wasn't about academic pressure. I heard it was because he was caught stealing money, felt ashamed, and couldn't cope with it. I heard a different story. They were stealing together, fought over the spoils, and someone pushed him off the building in anger." "That's hilarious. Both of you got it wrong. I have insider information. The truth is she stole money from some thugs, called them out to fight, and accidentally fell off the rooftop. That's too far-fetched. I still believe my version. It's all hearsay, but the stealing part must be true." Before they could finish, my mom fiercely grabbed the student who was speaking, and shouted sternly, "My daughter did not steal money." Her expression was like that of someone facing an enemy. The student trembled with fear, desperately trying to pull her hand back. "Let go of me, you're hurting me." My God, she looks like the mother of that girl who jumped off the building. People nearby started to take notice and gather around, pointing at my mom and whispering among themselves. Wasn't it her who stormed into the school back then, claiming her daughter was a thief? I feel like she's a bit crazy, with a mother like that. No wonder that girl jumped. Who could stand it? Hearing these words, my mom shivered but still clung tightly to the student's hand, muttering over and over, "My daughter did not steal money. My daughter did not steal money. Death is just the beginning." Words my mom said herself. The evil she sowed with her own hands. It finally came back to her like a boomerang. My mom went to a print shop and printed a stack of flyers that read, "Stacy is not a thief. She was driven to her death." She stood by the school gates, handing them out to every passing parent and student. some refused, some walked around her, scared, some took a flyer only to throw it away moments later. Those flyers ended up trampled underfoot, mixed with melting snow, turning to mud, their message blurred beyond recognition. Mom, how can rumors ever be clarified? People simply don't pay attention to the so-called truth, repeating explanations. But faced with apathy and frustration that no one cares, I've experienced this countless times from you all. The news about my mom handing out flyers at the school gate made the local news. When school security chased her away, she just moved to a nearby street. She couldn't stand for long, but now, she handed out flyers all day long. When her legs ached unbearably, she would massage them and stubbornly stand at the intersection. Why put up this pretense here? Who are you really trying to make amends to after a death? I wanted to snatch the flyers from her hands and tear them to shreds. But I could only pass through a void. At night, when we got home, my mom brought noodles from the downstairs noodle shop, broke open the disposable chopsticks, and ate with an indifferent expression. My dad stared at her, his face grim. Finally, when my mom got up to throw away the trash, he kicked the coffee table, unleashing days of pent-up anger. Have you gone mad, handing out flyers at the school, making a spectacle of yourself? Aren't you embarrassed enough? The air thinned instantly. Sarah dropped her chopsticks and ran to her bedroom, locking herself in. Then she put on her headphones, turned the volume up to the max, and zoned out. My mom continued to eat as if totally absorbed in her own world, attempting to do things that were utterly unnecessary, trying to forgive herself. Until my dad slammed the door and left, she remained indifferent. After finishing her meal, she used a key to open Sarah's bedroom door. She planned to throw away all the dolls in Sarah's closet and most of her clothes. After my death, Sarah's status in the family plummeted. Before, she was the apple of our parents' eyes. Now, they ignored her as if she didn't exist. At school, Sarah faced constant pointing fingers every day. See, it's her, the one who caused her own sister's death. Sarah never clarified, accepting all the scrutinizing gazes. She voluntarily moved to my old seat. She hardly listened in class, spending her days frantically writing "Stacy" over and over on scrap paper. Sarah forced a smile. Mom, why are you throwing my things away? My mom coldly replied, what Stacy doesn't have, you can't have either. It wouldn't be fair to her otherwise. Mom, the person is already dead. What's the point of talking about fairness now? How can you say it's pointless? My mom suddenly became emotional and started dredging up the past. If it wasn't for your deliberate targeting of her, she wouldn't have died. If you hadn't lied to me, I could have found Stacy sooner. Sarah watched my mom quietly. In the silence, she suddenly broke into a radiant smile. Do you really think you would have found her sooner, when you couldn't get through to her on the phone in H City? Why weren't you worried about her? I told you she was staying at Aunt Haley's and didn't want to come back. Why didn't you dare to make a call to check? Why would I target my sister if not because you disliked her? I was just imitating you, Mom. Now that my sister is dead, you're pushing all the blame onto me. Are you so sure that she was the one stealing the money? Was it me who beat her hands until they were bloody? Was it me who threw her out of the house in the middle of the night? Was it me who ran to the school and accused the teachers of turning her into a thief? It wasn't me, Mom. Faced with Sarah's questioning, my mom didn't speak, just grimly stuffed things into a trash bag. Sarah didn't stop her, just watched with her arms crossed. After my mom finished cleaning up, Sarah suddenly spoke. Mom, since you're throwing my things away, you won't keep the wool shawl I gave you, will you? Sarcasm shimmered in Sarah's eyes. My mom didn't know that shawl was a gift from me, so. Infuriated by Sarah, she cut the wool shawl to pieces. Along with Sarah's dolls and clothes, she threw everything into the trash bin, watching as the garbage truck came and took all the black trash bags away, until the garbage truck disappeared around the corner. My mom turned and walked away. The next second, Officer James called. Officer James personally returned the 3 items he had taken earlier. After delivering the items, he left. My mom sat for a while before she reached out to open the evidence bag. The first thing she saw was an A4 color printout. The scenery in H City is beautiful, just as I imagined. My parents loved the gifts I brought. They were happy, and so was I. I hope to visit again in the future. She could no longer control herself and crouched down, sobbing loudly, releasing all her guilt and regret through her tears, hoping for a future visit. But there was no future, Mom, then. My mom opened the second evidence bag, the receipt for the wool shawl, $3,199 I had saved for an entire year. While studying, I only ate one meal a day. It was to save time for studying, to improve my grades, to make my mom love me. It was also to save money to buy a New Year's gift, to make my mom love me. My mom's hands trembled violently. It seemed like that thin receipt weighed a ton. She suddenly looked up. But the trash bag containing the wool shawl had already been thrown into the garbage bin by her own hands. She watched as the garbage truck took it away. My mom hurriedly went downstairs and hailed a taxi. Hurry to the landfill, quickly. The driver looked at her incredulously. There are so many landfills. Which one do you want to go to? My mom froze. The vast landfill, stretching out as far as the eye could see, all piled up into mountains of garbage, like a drop of water lost in the ocean. In our city, there are 4 such landfills. How could it possibly be found? Even if it were found, what then? It had already been shredded by her own hands. Late at night, my mom returned home reeking of the landfill's sour stench. Sarah was already asleep. The moonlight cast on my mom's profile, giving her an indifferent look. Sarah, my mom called out her name with a cold tone. No response. Suddenly, my mom grabbed Sarah's collar, before Sarah could fully wake from her dreams. My mom slapped her hard across the face. The slap was delivered with full force. Sarah fell off the bed and knelt on the ground, blood dripping from her nose onto the floor. Yet my mom simply watched her coldly, as if staring down an enemy. This scene, it was just like the night we lost the money, history repeating itself. Sarah looked up at my mom, slowly curling her lips into a smile. Couldn't find it. Before my mom could react, Sarah burst out laughing. Her laughter growing louder until it became hysterical. Dear Mom, don't you want to know what I did with the $500 I stole, especially since the gift was bought by Stacy? My mom froze, her expression turning to fear. I didn't want to say, but you pushed me. I gave some classmates a bit of money to spread bad words about their parents, how they mistreat their own daughter, unfit to be parents. That only cost $300. And to spread the rumor that my sister is Aunt Haley's illegitimate child, even cheaper, just $200. Hee. The color drained from my mom's face. Her whole body trembled violently, her mouth opening then closing, unable to utter a word. She couldn't believe it. Her normally obedient and compliant daughter. Why would she do such things? She kicked open the door, violently grabbing Sarah's collar. Get out. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she smiled. She tilted her head, wiped the blood from her nose. And suddenly her expression turned pitiful. Mom, are you going to kick me out too? Just like you did with my sister. You drove my sister to her death. Is that not enough for you? Now you want to drive me to death too? My mom's hand paused. Previously, you took your anger out on Stacy, and after Stacy died, you started taking it out on me. Why don't you dare take your anger out on Dad? Mom, are you really clueless? Or just pretending? It's clear he's the root cause of all this. After my dad slammed the door and left, he never came back home. That night, I noticed a faint red mark on the collar of his shirt. It looked like smeared lipstick. My mom was just eating. She didn't see, or perhaps, she pretended not to see, like many years before, choosing to turn a blind eye. When Sarah and I were young, my mom used to tell us, for you to have a complete family, Mom has suffered a lot. You must study hard and make me proud. Only when I grew up did I understand what she meant by a complete family. To outsiders, my mom had a respectable job, a husband with a high income. Both children did well in school, especially Sarah, who could attend the best university in the country. But she had long known that the inside of this home was rotting. Her husband was having an affair. I want to kill myself. Sarah thought about running away from home, yet she chose to turn a blind eye. Trying to maintain a facade of happiness, Sarah and I had urged her to divorce our dad. Her pain was apparent to us all. The so-called complete family meant nothing to Sarah and me, but when my mom heard us, she twisted our arms fiercely, her expression one of shock and anger. Who told you that? Never say that again. Sarah and I were confused, until the next time, she vented to Sarah and me again. For you to have a complete family, Mom has endured a lot. You need to study hard and make me proud. We finally understood. The one who needed a complete family was our mom. Sarah and I didn't know why, but as long as my mom didn't want a divorce, this family continued in a twisted, distorted form, until I died. My mom seemed still to be deceiving herself, but Sarah's words left her no room to escape. My mom took out her phone and opened a hidden app, a tracking app. The green cursor on the tracking app blinked, showing a location at a local hotel. My mom watched the cursor, her face expressionless, and dialed my dad's number. "Where are you?" "At work." "What's up?" My mom didn't respond and hung up the phone, pulling Sarah along. She headed to the hotel indicated by the tracker. Standing at the hotel room door, my mom's hand trembled slightly at her side, yet she couldn't lift it. Sarah sneered, pushed her aside, and kicked the door open. The door swung open. My dad's shirt was undone to the last 2 buttons, his tie askew. Seeing Sarah, his face instantly changed, as if someone had thrown cold water over him. "Why are you here?" he whispered, his voice tinged with panic. Sarah didn't speak, her gaze moving past him to the room. A woman sat on the bed, her skirt so short it barely covered her thighs. She paused, then smirked secretly. "Disgusting." Sarah spoke, her voice as cold as ice. "Darling daughter, don't tell your mom." My dad hurriedly straightened his shirt, his tone pleading. "She can't handle this. She's like a madwoman now. Who knows what she might do if she finds out. You've always wanted a new phone, right? Daddy promises you." He was cut off. My mom emerged from his blind spot, grabbed him by the shirt collar, and screamed, "What is this? A fresh lipstick mark?" My dad froze. In an instant, he reacted, brushing off my mom's hand and smoothing out his shirt. "What are you yelling about?" As the facade was shattered, he was not panicked. Instead, he softened his tone, trying to pacify. "Stacy left. But we still have to continue living, right? You shouldn't be handing out flyers anymore. Standing too long is bad for your health. Even if you won't think of yourself, you should think about this family too." Sarah's college entrance exams are coming up soon, and her teacher said she could get into Tsinghua or Peking University. He argued, "I know you're upset, and as a father, and Sarah being her sister, do you think we're not upset too? But people cannot be brought back to life. And Sarah is also your daughter. You can't ruin her life." Putting aside everything else, shouldn't you at least clean the house and cook meals on time? Look at what the house has turned into. It's practically a dump. My mom seemed not to hear, murmuring absent-mindedly, "When I gave birth to Stacy and Sarah, you were having an affair. You promised me it wouldn't happen again. Stacy's dead. Why did you?" My dad's face was tight, and after a long silence, he sighed deeply. "The pressure is too much for me. People stab me in the back at work every day, and I come home to face a madwoman. If it weren't for you, why would I have an affair? Think about it. Reflect on yourself." I floated in the air, observing my dad's hypocritical indifference and my mom's angry expression. Suddenly, I found it funny. These were my parents, and before I died, I always longed for their love and attention. It's truly ridiculous. My mom twisted her lips into a strange curve, repeating in a low voice, "So it's my fault you had an affair? Then leave this house and live with that woman." My dad had already lost his patience, his face full of disgust. "I have nothing to say to you. Get a grip." The next day, my mom sought Aunt Haley to verify the scars on my left hand. The conclusion of the examination: the patient, Stacy, suffered severe nerve damage due to being violently struck by a bamboo stick on the left hand, resulting in significant impairment of sensory and motor functions, extensive contusions on the skin, muscle atrophy, and requiring immediate long-term treatment and rehabilitation. The prognosis is not optimistic, and a permanent disability in the hand is highly likely. I handed the report to my mom, but she was convinced I was lying to her. "How can it be so serious? Others get hit and are fine. Why are you so delicate?" It was Aunt Haley who stayed with me through the treatment and paid for it. Now, my mom reread the report, tears uncontrollably falling onto it. Aunt Haley sighed and gently patted my mom on the shoulder. "Condolences." Suddenly, my mom grabbed Aunt Haley's hand as if clutching a lifeline. "Did Stacy hate me?" Aunt Haley pursed her lips, not replying. Always kind, Aunt Haley couldn't bring herself to blame my mom or answer, "No." For me, in a moment of silence, my mom twitched her mouth, suddenly saying, "When I was pregnant, my husband had an affair. I confronted him at his company, and he promised to cut ties with that person. During my confinement, he left early and came back late, often was not at home, and was cold to me when he was." My mom rambled on about the past, those grievances of the older generation that I never knew. My mom said my dad always wanted a boy, but having me and Sarah took a toll on her body, and she couldn't get pregnant again. My dad ignored the family until Sarah and I started elementary school. Sarah's grades were especially good, easily coming first. Only then did my dad's attention return to the family, the atmosphere at home. Thanks to Sarah, harmony was restored once again. By chance, my mother discovered that my father had been having an affair all along. She was in agony and wanted to give her two children a complete family. It wasn't until Sarah and I personally urged her to divorce that she realized it was she herself who wanted a complete family. It was she who was unwilling to divorce my father. I listened in silence. Suddenly, I understood why my mother treated me the way she did. She had no outlet for the grievances she suffered in her marriage. Sarah was a tool to sustain her marriage. She couldn't be broken, so she turned her sights on me. Compared to Sarah, I was too ordinary. Perfectly suited to be her emotional dumping ground. Whenever she felt aggrieved, she would vent it out on me. After all, a child wouldn't resist. If I did resist, many well-meaning people would tell her, "What parents don't love their child? Your parents love you. Parents are also first-timers. You should understand their struggles." Thus, a child would internalize this, attributing their parents' lack of love to their own faults. It's because I'm not obedient enough, not considerate enough towards my parents. I grew up in this kind of self-deception, until I met Hebe. Only then did I realize that all this was wrong. But I was wrong. My mother had returned home, into the silence, holding my urn. She suddenly spoke into the void. I always hoped he would apologize to me, but until yesterday, he still didn't think he was wrong. You can't die in vain. I can't continue making mistakes. It was a Saturday night. The kitchen smelled of fish soup. My mom was busy at the stove wearing an apron. When Sarah came home from school, my dad was walking towards the dining table, adjusting his tie. His face was all smiles, holding a box of strawberry cake. It was from my mom's favorite bakery. She stared blankly at the cake. Suddenly, she blurted out, "Stacy used to love strawberries when she was little." Silence spread through the air. A vein throbbed on my dad's forehead as he forced a smile. "This cake is specially bought for you, not for Stacy." As my mom took the cake, my dad took the opportunity to hug her, his hand reaching to her hair. "If we divorce, you won't be able to eat the cakes I buy anymore. Plus, what would our neighbors think if they knew Sarah's about to take her college entrance exams? Wouldn't a divorce ruin her?" My dad smiled ingratiatingly. "Kathy, I was foolish before. Let's start over. Let's live well together." The harsh light cast shadows under my mom's eyes. After a long silence, I heard her chuckle lightly. "All right then." The atmosphere suddenly lightened. My mom waved at Sarah. "Sarah, come here. Mommy wants to apologize." Sarah had been frowning since my dad walked in. Not until my mom called her over did her expression soften, and she scoffed lightly. "Mom, I thought you, never mind. What was I expecting?" Sarah reverted to her usual sweet smile and walked towards her parents. I floated in the air, watching this family of three embrace each other, harmoniously as always, as if my death had never happened. But I knew, things have changed. My dad could only see the gentle smile on my mom's lips, but he didn't notice that the smile didn't reach her eyes. In her cold, dark pupils, there was nothing but murderous intent. The table was filled with dishes that my dad and Sarah loved. In the center was a pot of creamy white fish soup. Amidst the rising steam, my mom's expression was obscured. Sarah listlessly took a few bites and then said, "I'm full. I'm going to do my homework now." "Sit down." My mom spoke softly, yet her tone brooked no refusal. She placed a piece of fish into Sarah's bowl. "Don't you love fish? I bought grass carp especially for you. It's less fishy when cold, but I can't eat anymore." "Finish it." Reluctantly, Sarah sat down and picked up the piece of fish. My mom ladled out 3 more bowls of fish soup. The spoon clinked crisply against the edge of the bowl. My dad, ever attentive, took it from her, scooping a spoonful to her lips. "This fish soup smells really fresh. You've worked hard over the years. Here, you have the first sip." My mom paused. "What's wrong?" my dad asked, puzzled. She recovered and slightly curved her eyes. "It's nothing. I was just remembering the last time you fed me like this was 18 years ago." She took a sip, bowing her head. My dad smiled too. "Whenever you want. I can feed you like this every day. Just like the young couples do now." He proudly gulped down the entire bowl of fish soup. My dad seemed quite pleased with himself. Even after everything that had happened, my mom had forgiven him, hadn't she? No matter how outrageous his actions, my mom would never leave him. "There's no future." My mom whispered softly. My dad froze. What did you say? Before he could finish, he suddenly arched his back in pain and collapsed to the floor. The ceramic bowl shattered. Madman, call the police. Call an ambulance. My dad frantically clawed at his own throat, spewing mouthfuls of dark purple blood. He struggled towards the sofa, where his phone lay. Sarah also started vomiting blood. She suddenly burst out laughing, tears streaming down her face, and she stepped on my dad's hand. My dad's eyes bulged with rage. Sarah, let go. His eyes protruded, his voice weakening. The pot of fish soup had been simmering for 2 hours. When my mom poured the clear liquid into the soup, her hand didn't tremble at all. It was a lethal dose of potassium chloride she had acquired from a small clinic after leaving Aunt Haley's house. The harsh lighting cast ominous shadows on my mom's face. She stared down at my dad from her elevated position, watching him scratch bloody marks into the floor with his fingernails, watching him convulse and vomit blood uncontrollably. My mom picked up the strawberry cake. She crouched down, smearing it on his contorted face. His last expression was frozen in twisted rage. It resembled the night he had beaten me with a bamboo stick. Sarah couldn't bear it any longer, curling up in agony on the floor. Sis, it hurts. My mom held Sarah in her arms, wiping the tears from her face. She downed the remaining fish soup. Don't be afraid. Mommy's here. It'll stop hurting soon, very soon. You'll be reunited with your sister. Side story. Sarah's perspective. My name is Sarah, and I, along with my twin sister Stacy, are twins. From Stacy's perspective, I might appear to be our parents' treasured darling, always getting what I want, but only I know that this favoritism is like fragile glass, ready to shatter at the slightest misstep. Mom often says that I am her star, but should that star gather any dust, she'd readily throw it away herself. The first time I came in second place, Mom didn't utter a word. She simply tore up the report card into pieces and threw it in the trash right before my eyes. That night, the fish soup grew cold. She didn't touch it, just sighed at me repeatedly. I cried, pleading incessantly with Mom. I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Mom looked at me, gently stroking my head and smiling softly, yet the words that spilled out made me shiver. If you keep this up, what makes you different from Stacy? Mom's smile was like candy wrappers, pretty but easily crumpled. Any step back I took, and that candy wrapper would tear with a swoosh, revealing an icy face beneath. I desperately strived to be first, plastering the walls with certificates, but Mom was never satisfied. I studied into the late hours of the night, not daring to slack off for a moment. Those dense exercises and endless points of knowledge made up my entire life. I even found myself envying my sister. Our parents couldn't see her, and she seemed to enjoy her freedom. When you act like this, how are you any different from Stacy? Stacy overheard that, but all she did was squat down, picking up the torn pieces of the report card that had fallen outside the bin. Then she patted my head. Don't cry, Sarah. Mom always scolded her as a stone that couldn't be warmed. All the other kids are warm and close with their parents. You, on the other hand, always have a long face, as if we owe you something. She really did seem like a stone, unmoved when scolded, quiet when kicked out, seemingly indifferent by nature. Only I knew she would secretly bite into her blanket and cry at night. She would look envious when I was coddled by our parents. When I was younger, my favorite thing was to squeeze into my sister's bed. I'd pester her to tell me stories. We curled up together, like two weeds sprouting through the cracks, leaning on each other, inseparable. But then one day, Hebe came along. Suddenly, there was a light in my sister's eyes. They became closer and I started to feel uneasy. Sarah, Hebe gave me a scarf. My sister pulled it out from her bag to show me. The scarf was a beautiful deep blue, like the ocean. I could tell. My sister really liked it, and she really liked Hebe. Facing my sister's expectant look, I heard myself say, "It's ugly." I knew, as long as I said that, my sister would never wear that scarf. As expected, my sister's expression immediately dimmed. I thought it was over, but the next day, I stood in the classroom, watching my sister bury half her face in the scarf's fluff, laughing happily with Hebe. It turns out the cold can really seep into your bones. I shivered all over. Suddenly, it became clear, my sister was going to leave me. We were both weeds thriving in the cracks. But after being touched by the sunlight outside, my sister wanted to leave this crack. She wanted to leave behind her weed-like little sister. I felt betrayed. This sister, who had always been my lifeline, How could she just walk away? And on what grounds could she just decide to leave? Stacy said to me, "What do you think about renting a small flat together once we get into university?" I scoffed. "Us? You mean you and Hebe, right?" Her stunned expression was quite amusing. "No," my sister said with a slight squint, her tone soft as if she were coaxing a child. "I mean with you. I'm so proud of you for your excellent grades. As your sister, I hope we can go to the same university." This time, it was my turn to be stunned, even though I intentionally asked our parents for the latest smartphone and designer clothes, even though I flaunted their favoritism towards me in front of my sister. Still, she never thought of abandoning me. I knew it. My sister wanted to leave this home, but she was too indecisive, too gentle and kind. She even wanted to take me with her. But how could our parents ever let me go? I was a tool to them, something they wanted to keep a firm grip on. Taking me with her, my sister was bound to fail, yet she couldn't bear to leave me behind. What to do? I had no choice but to give her a push, to make her see this home. There was nothing here worth her lingering for. I stole money and framed my sister. I even stole her gifts and gave them to our parents. Then, with the stolen money, I spread rumors at school. I'll never forget the look of disbelief on her face, but I achieved my goal. She completely gave up on this home, and she grew closer to Hebe. I just didn't expect that I had pushed my sister towards an abyss. When I saw the police, my mind went blank. I couldn't hear anything, until the pain in my arm snapped me back to reality. I saw my mother's mouth moving, saying if it weren't for me, she could have found my sister sooner. I suddenly found it funny and sad. Until the police said my sister had been lying in the snow for 8 days. Her blood had spilled all over, freezing into dark red ice. Suddenly, I felt a deep hatred towards myself. My father quickly returned to normal, starting a new life. My mother became lucid but pretended to be insane, doing meaningless things to alleviate her guilt. How could this be? I had to let her know the truth. I had to expose my father's disgusting true face. I thought my mother had given in again. Until my father collapsed on the ground, coughing up blood. I finally understood my mother's madness. A piercing pain came from my abdomen. I stepped on my father's hand as he reached for his phone. My mother really was careless. When the pain became unbearable, I didn't struggle. In a daze, I thought I saw my sister. She was floating in midair, indifferently watching everything. "Sister, I'm sorry. I'm coming to find you. Just wait for me." After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you like this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.